Quite easy to say that medical assistance in dying is reprehensible and evil. It's very easy for us to say that people have been coerced into it at times, that they've been walked down the plank and their life's been snuffed out when they made a cry for help. I think it's easy to say that postpartum depression, which affects 1 in 5 women, is awful, it's horrendous, and it puts them into a state of mind that's not them and it's not the interests that they would normally take, and it can take the life of the child. And yet when we say that abortion is murder, people don't find that compelling. And so before I get to the scope of it and why I think it needs to be less, I'd first like to take it from a completely different side of the narrative here. I'd like to look at the women that go and become nurses, the women that want to take care of the elderly, the infirm, the sick, little babies that aren't well, that were born prematurely. And those women sometimes are forced to perform abortions, and they do so at the behest of doctors. Doctors carry an incredible amount of trust. People have faith in doctors. And I think it's a little bit unfounded that somebody goes and gets an education from an affluent background where they've found success and whatnot, but plenty of people buy into that, and they see that credentialism as a form of authority. Many of these women do, and are coerced into performing abortions, something that they find to be reprehensible and murder, and that they hadn't considered would be a component part of being a healthcare professional, was that they would be forced to provide what is considered to be healthcare. Isn't that sad? Isn't that wrong? Isn't that the same as when we say to somebody, we need you to participate in a gay marriage or a gay wedding ceremony, except that it's worse because the person who says, these don't conform to my beliefs, I can't participate in this, in one case is saying because it is wrong and it's against God's law and it's against God's institutions, and the other saying because it's against God's law, because it's murder, because it's a child, because Jesus said it'd be better for me to have a millstone tied around my neck and for me to be thrown into the sea than to harm one of these. And so that's really something that I think is disgusting. And I think it's the medical industry and the medical institutions that we need to look into. I think they're a huge part of what's bankrupting this country. $850 billion was spent on Medicare, and that's a lot of money to be spending out of the $5 trillion federal budget. So I would make the argument that there needs to be less abortion. And I'd make that argument from this. I'd say that 30 to 40 million people have been aborted in the United States since Roe versus Wade and Obergefell went into effect in the 70s. If I wanted to get a grain of sand to represent each one of those people and pour it out here in our parking lot, it would take me, it wouldn't come in bags, it would take a dump truck. I'd need 900 to 1,200 pounds for 2.2 micron grains of sand. It's 0.04 the visible stars in the universe. It's something close to the population of Canada. And 72 million people are aborted worldwide every day. Or every year rather. So that's 200,000 every day. That's quite substantial. God, that's a big number. There are maybe 14 countries with a population larger than the number of people aborted every year. Why is this happening? Societal pressures, and society has told people that you need to be in a position where you can afford to have and take care of a child in order to raise a child. There are 40 million abortions in this country. If we are to assume that these are all the product of rape, incest, and these heinous acts, then we have something so much greater to address than abortion. But I can't believe that that's the case. And so I'd make the argument, couldn't there be less? What could be done to reduce the number of human persons as defined under U.S. law that are snuffed out in this manner every day? What can be done? Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you watching.